Hey guys, I'm Paul Bridgewater. On today's GIS report, we're speaking to the Minister of Natural Resources, Labor and Immigration and representative for the 9th District, Honorable Vincent Wheatley. And we'll be speaking about exemption and everything that you need to know about its processes. Welcome, Honorable Wheatley.
Thank you. So good to be here.
All right, so the topic of exemption, we want to know how long would a person have to live in the BVI before they qualify for exemption?
Well, before I answer the question about that, let's first talk about what exemption really is. And I would say that exemption is a program where persons who would normally be required to have a work permit are allowed to work here without a work permit. You're still under immigration control, but you have no need to have a work permit. The program started, I would guess, during the Honorable Maharaj's time, and has since continued. The policy used to be in the past 20 years, but during the regularization period, we reduced the time down to 15 years by time.
So what if I went to school here? Would that be grounds for me to apply for exemption?
It depends on the time, length of time. There's no longer category by students, it's by tenure now. So if you've been as a student for 15 years, you would qualify to apply. The answer is yes. But you must meet the 15-year criteria.
So, Minister, if I lived in the territory for more than 15 years and I applied for exemption, what would be the factors that would lead towards me being denied?
Well, denial has to do with, again, let's go back to the white person, if you get exemption. The general feeling, the general thinking is going to be some benefit to the individual in the first instance and the wider community and the territory in the second instance. So if you apply for exemption and if you meet the 15 years, but you, let's say, for example, you make a very large salary and there's no clear reason why exemption is going to be beneficial to the territory and only yourself, that's one of the grounds for being denied exemption. Also, maybe the profession that you are in might again qualify you to be denied. So there are several factors we look at for denying exemption. But we don't go from a negative point of view. We more go from a positive point of view, and that is you apply for exemption, we want to know why do you want exemption. And that's a very individual thing. Each person may apply for a different reason. For example, some may apply because their salary is so low that by saving the money that they're paying for the work permit, it might make a difference to their lives. Other folks may want it because it gives them greater mobility in finding jobs. So it depends on the reason why they want exemption. We will have to decide, the ministry will decide, or myself will decide, if it's to be granted, or if there's enough grounds, enough solid grounds to grant them an exemption.
So it's definitely important to have contributions to the territory.
That is, yes, that's a very good grounds for deciding if it should be granted or not. So it's not just for giving exemption's sake. We want to make sure it's of some value to the person as well as the territory.
Right. So there were some concerns about persons who left the territory for a period of maybe 3 months or more, that they would have to start over. Yes. What would be that explanation for that?
If I'm not mistaken, that would be in the Immigration Act, that if you live in a territory and you leave for longer than 90 days, your time is erased and you have to start back when you come back. Your time starts back from zero.
So it's important that people know that you can't leave a territory consecutively for over 90 days. Otherwise, they will have to start over.
Exactly, because you're kind of like a visitor now. Or somebody, let's say, holding a landholder's license, who can reside here for up to 6 months per year. So if you leave for a longer period of that, you're considered now a visitor and not a resident.
And in terms of internally, like the province administration would come for us, like they would get job letters from employers and they won't have sufficient information in terms of what the employee that they're hiring would be doing. Like, let's say they won't have their title or their amount they're being paid and all that kind of stuff.
No, all jobs are advertised and those things are published. So if you're going to give a job letter, the person's name, person's job title, salary, and benefits.
Very important. That's very important stuff.
And they're all very clearly on the application form, what is required.
And the last thing I think I want to touch on is the topic of indefinite exemption. What would be the qualifications for that?
That practice has been canceled. We no longer do indefinite exemptions. And the reason for that is exemption is not a status. It's a program that is to relieve some persons for certain circumstances. It's not to be seen as a status. The maximum you get for exemption now is 6 years, maximum. We expect you to apply for residency or belong after that period. So there's no longer any indefinite exemptions. I want to reiterate that Exemption is not a status. It's a program to allow certain persons to work freely without work permits. Who normally would require work permits for various reasons, we would do it. Maybe there are circumstances when somebody maybe have minimum wage. This is a family all making minimum wage. For some reason, a parent or a child dies, and they're put into hard financial situations. If the exemption is seen to be helpful to the person, so it becomes like a subsidy also. We also give exemptions to persons in certain professions if they're deemed valuable enough. For example, VISA. VISA is a voluntary organization that oftentimes receives subsidies from the government. So to augment the subsidy, what we have done, or what I've done, is to exempt that one paid position within that voluntary organization, because it helps the organization to be able to give back more to the community if they're paying less in taxes. So the exemption series can also serve as kind of a subsidy for certain categories of persons. And we are looking to expand that base going forward to certain categories of workers once we are sure how we can make up for lost revenue. So it's something we are right now exploring to see how we can widen that base of organizations or person who we would give exemption as a subsidy to the organization. Not just to a person, but to an organization.
With the goal of helping the territory.
Exactly. Exemption must help the person in the first instance and to the territory in the second instance. It cannot be a one-way benefit, because whenever we give an exemption, we do lose a certain revenue. So we have to make sure we know how we're going to make up that lost revenue.
So we definitely look towards those initiatives coming on stream in the future.
Yes, we've been very innovative, very creative with the way we are running this government at this time.
So is there anything else you would like to add before you leave, Minister?
Well, again, I want to just thank all those persons who have applied for exemption, and those who were denied them. Just all I would say is, later on, you can reapply for exemption, and maybe at that time, whatever circumstance may have denied your application might have been rectified. I encourage all persons to contribute to the BVI economy and our culture, to participate in our voluntary organizations, Rotary, VISA, Red Cross. All of these things help me to make an informed decision about who you are really asking for an exemption. Clearly, you want to be part of the community. You want to also do that in practice.
Yes, do your part.
Do your part. So together we build a strong, united BVI.
All right, Minister, thank you for stopping by.
Always a pleasure.
That's it for today, guys. Be sure to tune into the government's Facebook and YouTube at BVI Government for timely and accurate information daily. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the GIS Report. I'm Information Officer Paul Bridgewater.